we're going to do them individually, so give me that. And I can just say, okay. Good. Thanks. Let's go. Welcome to the Thursday, July the 9th, St. Tammany Parish Council meeting. Mr. Sharp, will you lead us in the invocation, please?
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening to thank you for the many blessings that we have in our lives. We ask you to bless our proceedings here tonight and give us wisdom and judgment and bless the outcome of those decisions. Thank you for all that you do for us, and we will be careful to give you the praise and the glory. All things we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Chairman, we have a young scout in the audience, Mr. Lamb McCauley. He's 13 years old from Troop 611. He's in my district. He's the Assistant Senior Patrol Leader, about to make Life Scout. I'd like to ask him to come up and lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, young man, and we're glad you're here, and best of luck with your scouting career. At this time, I'd like Ms. Ford to call the roll.
Mr. Dean? Here. Mr. Sharp? Here. Mr. Thompson? Mr. Faulkner? Here. Mr. Gould? Mr. Groby? Here. Mr. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Canulet? Here. Mr. Belisario? Here. Ms. O'Brien? Here. Mr. Stefanczyk? Here. Mr. Bender? Here. Mr. Artigue? Here. Mr. Smith? Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Well, we have this, but we just have to do this one. Yeah. Okay. All right, this time I'd like to call to order a public hearing on the levying of millages for the year, adjusted millage rates for the year 2015. I have several cards that are in front of me. We're going to address all of them tonight, so rather than do them, we're going to do them individually when we get around to voting. But if you have one that you want to discuss, just indicate which one you want to discuss with us. You tell us, you know, how you feel, what you think, and let us know. And we'll go through the public hearing. And once we get through with the public hearing, we will go into a regular session, and that's when the council will entertain resolutions to adopt whatever the council desires to do as far as the millages that will be assessed to each particular entity. Is there any questions? Okay, I have the first person.
Mr. Chairman, please remind them that they got 2 minutes this week.
I'm sorry, yes. You have 2 minutes to speak. And Mr. Stefanczyk is going to be keeping the clock. First person I have is Roxanne Crawford, 126 Grafton Avenue, Slidell. Ms. Crawford. She left? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oops. Don, the mic is all the way at the bottom. If it works, no, it's okay. That may be the easiest.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Speak right into the mic.
Okay, my name's Roxanne Crawford. I've been a resident of Slidell for the last 14 years. We currently live in Country Club. Up until Katrina, we had lived in Eden Isle, and we lost our house in Eden Isle. So we pay taxes on our both properties right now. I've been a user of library services for all those years, and due to occasional health problems, I sometimes had the convenience of the online services that they offer. They're perfect for me. I've downloaded books and audiobooks and ebooks, and I've used the interlibrary loan system. If my laptop fails me, I can go and do my work at the library, and I have been able to benefit from playing Scrabble at one library, learning how to knit at another library, and I enjoy community services that they offer in the Slidell branch, such as educational opportunities and concerts. I'm happy to know that there's a replacement library for the South Slidell Library that had been destroyed. It's wonderful because of it going to be so much more accessible to children in the southern part of the city, so that because we don't have the transportation to be able to get people up to the Robert Road branch. And I'd like to say that when I visit the library, I'm always surprised and amazed at how many different uses there are of the library by people. I've seen people in the computer area using it for online college classes, for learning how to produce music, compose term papers. I've seen people using it to apply for employment services. So it's really a utilized resource, and it's really valuable to the community. I support the millage adjustment that the library is requesting. It's because the service is so in demand. I know that we're in serious need of some parking, and I hope that we can go ahead and make you understand that it's just such an essential part of the social fabric of our parish, and I would hate to see that it crumble because of lack of funding for the capital fund. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Looks like a familiar name, Sharon Hewitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Sharon Hewitt. I live in Slidell. I also serve on RPEC, which, as you know, is the governing body for the Republican Party in our parish, and a candidate for the state Senate. I'm here to speak to you today kind of in general terms about the process. I am very concerned about the cyclical 4-year cycle that we have here. As you know, the year before a new assessment, agencies want to increase their millage quite often so that they preserve the right to be able to have that millage for the next 4 years. And I don't want that to be the sole justification for rolling up millages tonight. The justification for rolling up millages needs to be that there's a real need for the money, that there is new services that are needed, and that expenses have been looked at And we know that there are no other opportunities to reduce our budget in any other ways. I think the groups that are here tonight that are asking to roll their millages up have done a good job of looking at their budgets. And they have great projects and reasons for wanting to do that. I'm just asking you to help us be good stewards of the taxpayer money and challenge the groups to make sure that we have really done our due diligence and that we are being good stewards of the taxpayer money. And the other thing that I can commit to you to do is to work with you, should I be elected in the legislature, to address this cyclical thing, because I think in some cases it incents the agencies to do the wrong thing in boosting your millage the year before a reassessment, when in fact what we really want people to do is to budget the money that they really need to do the work of that agency, and not the cyclical thing that we go through every 4 years. So thank you very much for allowing me to make those points.
Thanks, Sharon. Next person I have is Sandra Shakesnyder.
Hello, my name is Sandra Scheck-Snyder. I've lived here in Slidell for about 30 years. I'm a retired teacher in our community here, and I am asking you to vote for the millage roll-up for the library. We have a really good library system here, and it's not just my opinion. My sister, who lives in a small town in Tennessee, when she comes to visit, every single time talks about what a really great library system we have here. And you might say, well, fine, she lives in a small town. However, my daughter and my mother, who live in Sacramento, California, which is most definitely a large town, says exactly the same thing when they come, and they are truly impressed with what our library offers us here. All the services, the audio services, the internet services, the ease of checking out and returning books at any one of the parish libraries. My concern is, though, this really great library system that we do have here that we use, if we don't have the funding to take care of the roofs that need to be repaired, to take care of the parking situation, that good library system that we have doesn't continue to be the really excellent library system that we need that supports our community here. Parking is an issue, and that's one of the things that the millage monies would be used for. I'm just asking you, please, to remember how important our library is to our system and to vote for the millage that supports it and keeps it at the high quality that we have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person I have is Rebecca Taylor.
My name is Rebecca Taylor. I am Vice President of the St. Tammany Parish Library Board of Control. I've personally had a long history in libraries. St. Tammany has a wonderful library system. The .94 of a mill that the library is requesting will be dedicated to capital improvements. The library has at present no dedicated funds for capital improvements, and the .94 mill would provide these dedicated funds for capital improvements for 10 years. We've had immense population growth since Katrina. Our branch library buildings are old, for the most part. Major repairs are needed. And the present buildings are too small for the population that they are serving. So I would ask you to allow the library to continue with its mission and approve the .94 mill increase. Thank you.
The next person I have on the agenda is Julie Agan. Is it Hagan? Looks like a H. I mean an A here, but I guess it's an H. Thank you.
I'm Julie Agan with the Council on Aging for St. Tammany Parish, and we had some information. Is it appropriate for us to pass this out to the board members, to the parish council?
Hold the clock till they get the stuff. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Julie Agan. I am the Executive Director for the Council on Aging here in St. Tammany Parish, speaking on behalf of members of our Board of Directors, our Senior Advisory Council, our administrative staff, all of whom are with me in the back, and the seniors of St. Tammany Parish. There are over 53,000 seniors in St. Tammany Parish, and Coast provided services to 2,838 of those seniors last year. There will never be enough funding for us to provide services for all the seniors, and fortunately, many of our seniors won't require the services that the Council on Aging provides. According to our state office, a Council on Aging is designed to provide services to assist older persons in leading independent, meaningful, and dignified lives in their own homes and communities for as long as possible. But that definition doesn't begin to describe what it is we do. For so many of the seniors that we serve, we are a life source. They depend on us to get to the grocery. They depend on us to get to the doctor. They depend on us for what is oftentimes the only hot meal they receive that day. They depend on us to help them bathe. They depend on us to provide a very needed break for an exhausted caregiver. They depend on us to come and cut their grass when it gets so high that they're afraid the rodents are going to come in. You'll note on that first page of the information that I gave you that we've listed all the things that we would like to do should you all choose to roll forward our millage today. When you look at that list, however, the one that matters the most is the $132,864 that are needed for us to provide services to the over 300 seniors currently on our waiting lists. These are seniors in St. Tammany Parish, across the parish, who need our services, but we cannot provide them because we simply don't have the funding. However, when you are deciding today whether or not you're going to roll forward the Council on Aging's millage, I would like you to just think about those seniors, because a yes vote tonight will mean that they can remain in their homes. They can live an independent, meaningful, and dignified life, and you all have the ability to make that happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next person I have is Mr. Morgan or Miss Morgan. Hardrow Morgan. She's coming.
I had an accident 11 days ago, and that's one of the reasons why I'm on a walker. But in many ways, I sort of represent what happens when things are not taken care of. We have a very fine library system. It's also very old. Except for one new building, some of our libraries are as long as 20, 30, even 40 years. These have to be kept up. We have, in our libraries, we have roofs that need repair. We have air conditioning systems that are about ready to go. We have libraries that have no parking. In fact, we have one branch that has room for just one car. We have children who register, hundreds of children who register to maintain their literacy skills throughout the summer, and they cannot find enough places to let them grow during the rest of the summer. We are an educational institution, and as an educational institution, we should be up there among the very best in the state of Louisiana. I'm very sorry to have to tell you that the funds that we give to our libraries are below the average that the state comes. We are 39th out of 64. 39th. We do not reach the average. In fact, the parish of Madison, which is our smallest and poorest parish, devotes more money to their libraries than we do. I want you to think very carefully on your vote tonight, because what you are saying is we have everything we do, we have no capital funds. Therefore, we have to maintain a long list of things that we wish to do, and those things go into our savings. We now have savings. We do not know what we will face in the fall, and we cannot deplete those savings, because if we do, and there is something that happens, where will we be? We do not wish to be the last in the state. It would be an embarrassment to St. Tammany Parish, who depends greatly on our reputation as the very best. And I would like to say something else. We have the highest per capita income in the state, and we do not even give our libraries enough funding to be in the middle, to be average. We are below average, not in the services we provide, but in the very maintenance areas of our buildings. Our buildings are old. They do not have to do what I did and fall off a treadmill, but they will also decay. So thank you very much for the opportunity to come before you. I love books. I've given my whole life to education. I've taught in schools from 3-year-olds to graduate school. And without libraries, my life and the lives I have touched would not be as rich as I hope they have been. Thank you very, very much for your time, and I know you will consider our request.
Thank you. Next person I have is Miss Barbara Dodd.
My name is Barbara Dodds. I live here in St. Tammany since 1976, and I'm here representing the League of Women Voters of St. Tammany. We have positions that we have adopted by the concurrence of our membership. Short, support of public libraries as a basic service of government with adequate funding by local, state, and federal governments. We support free access by all persons to public library services as a means for lifetime learning and as a major source of knowledge and information necessary for informed, active participation in a democratic society. We came before you last year and asked that you consider the library's request for a roll-up in their millage. I think that has become obvious this year with the many repairs that needed to be done on library buildings and the fact that they needed to restore South Slidell's libraries. There was a very good and interesting opinion in today's Advocate that shows how much support library systems across the southern tier of this state has been made forward in this year. Lafayette officials have reopened their main library. Baton Rouge opened a beautiful new main library and preparing to start a new library downtown, and they have just rolled forward the request by their library system. And in New Orleans in May, voters approved a raise in the millage allowed. So we can see that people do appreciate their libraries. We believe that libraries are a major component of the parish and its attractiveness to new citizens, and we want the attraction to continue, and I think you do too. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Next person I have is Mr. Bill Allen.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I am a resident of Covington, and I also serve on the Library Board of Control. We're obviously here in some numbers this evening. We appreciate the support the community's been giving us, and many of you on the council. And I believe you're going to be hearing Donald Westmoreland's presentation the next stage. I'm not sure exactly all about the process. But clearly, we need a capital fund. We have none. Most libraries have them. And with the library in Slidell, which cost us $1 million because of an urgent need for a new air conditioning system, it took 7 years of operational savings to make that happen. We need a new roof in Covington. We need a new AC in Covington. We need a new roof in Mandeville. We need a bunch of other things. If all of those came together at one time, we would be in a world of hurt, and this community would be in a world of hurt. So your vote tonight comes down to, do we roll forward and give ourselves a capital fund, or do we wait 10 more years for the possibility? And I just, in Katrina, the libraries opened shortly after Katrina and provided internet access for people who didn't have it at home, needed to be in contact with their families. And I think it's a good example of the ways in which we serve that you don't ordinarily realize. We live in the age of the internet, and some will argue we don't need libraries when we have the internet. Well, it's fine if you have the money to have computers, but according to Councilmember Bender, 50% of Slidell's population have either not a computer or access to the internet at home. And in South Slidell, where the Pontchartrain branch was, that we lost in Katrina, it's more like 60% do not have it. And if you go into the rural areas, don't have figures on those, but you can extrapolate, this is an issue. It's an issue for people who don't have money, who need the internet in order to get a job, don't have the skills with computers. We provide those skills, we provide the access, we provide the training. It's just one of the many things that the library provides. So I think events like Katrina remind us of the need to be prepared for the unexpected. We already know many of the capital improvements that we absolutely need, so they're not even unexpected. So we ask you for your vote tonight to give us the ability to pay for those and for unexpected events we're not even aware of. Thank you.
Thank you. Next card I have is from Pat Phillips. Is Pat Phillips here? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on, Pat.
My name's Pat Phillips. I'm from 1314 Woodmere Drive. I'm also part of the RPEC and on the State Central Committee. I'm also a candidate for state representative in Mandeville. The only thing I'm asking is you be prudent with our money. After watching what took place up at the Capitol this year, I would not like to see the same thing happen here. If the money's going to be used for something, it goes to the proper places. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. Next person I have is Rob Manis.
Wait. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to talk this evening, and thank you all for your distinguished service to our parish. I appreciate it, and I'd like to thank everybody that's here supporting the different agencies with the information that they're providing, because it shows that folks in our parish, as I already know, really care. And I'm retired Colonel Rob Manis from Madisonville. But I do have to ask that we exercise fiscal constraint and apply conservative principles. And this is more of a process issue that I have in opposing the millage roll-up. So I call on you to prevent all 50 of these agencies, these taxing agencies, to creep up every single year. And I noticed in the reams of data that were sent to me this afternoon that the RPEC requested that the revenue streams increase consistently every year, even without a millage roll-up. So we really need to think about that, and we need more information. I'm a member of the RPEC, so I'm representing the Republican majority in St. Tammany as a member of that RPEC. And regardless of whether the millages go up or down, I would add that the assessed values, we see them go up and increase every single year. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ron. Peter Egan.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Peter Egan. I live at 190 Eagle Road in Covington, and I am the chairman of the Republican Executive Committee, the Republican Party in St. Tammany Parish. And as chairman of the RPEC, I reached out to many of the bodies coming in question here tonight and got responses from several of them. Based on the time frame that we started this process, realized that the amount of data that we received made it very, very difficult to make intelligent decisions upon which we could offer a resolution. So as chairman, I opted not to seek a resolution on the millage roll-ups, but do want to reiterate and articulate that which many of my colleagues have already, and that is we believe that we represent the mood of the taxpayers in St. Tammany Parish who feel that at this point they are overtaxed. Depending on who you speak to, we're either the highest, the second, the third, I think the fourth highest taxed parish in the state of Louisiana. We pay a lot of taxes. So that rather than offering an individual resolution against all of the roll-ups, we implore you to exercise great due diligence in each of those causes, because it is finally in your hands, whatever decision is made, and we entrust that you are going to make the best decision on behalf of the taxpayers of St. Tammany Parish. Again, part of my reasoning was based on a lot of the material that we got, which was, unless I analyzed a lot of individual line items in every budget, it was very, very difficult to really understand where the money was going, and short of making an arbitrary taking a shot in the dark, again, we opted not to do that, but again offer you what we believe is the mood of the population in St. Tammany Parish. Again, anecdotally, and this was I guess that tells me that the mood of the council. On behalf of the Republican majority in St. Tammany Parish, we would implore you to exercise great diligence in how you evaluate each and every one of those requests, because at the end of the day, we, the citizens of St. Tammany Parish, end up holding the cost of every decision that's made here tonight. Thank you all very, very much.
Mr. Westmoreland, you want to speak?
Well, the people have said a lot tonight, so I'm going to be very brief. I just formally would ask that, that our millage be set for 6.29. As you heard from members of the board and the public, at the direction of my board, who asked unanimously that we make this request, that .94 that we're not receiving will be dedicated specifically for these capital improvements and overhauls that we need to do. And they said a lot of things. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but we desperately need to do that, and we've been trying to identify those areas where the needs are most critical. We are very thankful to the council for working with us to bring back that South Side Library. That's a very key part of, completely recovering for Katrina. And I want to thank the council and Madam President for helping us with that project. And it's a joint partnership, and we're going to get that done just as quickly as we can. So I'll just end it there, and any questions that you might have of me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I mean, so far everybody's talked on the library. All of these the public hearing is for all of these millages that we're contemplating tonight. And I know one of the millages that we are going to be is going to be for the coroner, and I see Dr. Preston is here. Dr. Preston, would you like to come forth?
My name is Dr. Charles Preston. I'm the St. Tammany Parish Coroner. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and distinguished council members. I was cautioned by my chief investigator not to speak too swiftly, but Mr. Stefanczyk has promised to tase me if I go over, so I'm going to try and cover a lot of information in a short period. I would like to tell just a short illustrative story. 2 weeks ago, I got a call from a pre-med student at LSU that wanted to come to the facility to witness an autopsy, and so I brought her in. 8:30 in the morning, at Monday morning, we had 6 cases to do. 1 a suspected homicide, 1 a decomposed body that had been found in a car. We had 2 interns who were spending the summer with us, both pathologists operating, both morgue techs, 2 law enforcement agencies. In the other suite, we had the crime lab and DNA techs working on that body to collect evidence. And one of the detectives looked around and he said, "I've never seen this much activity in the coroner's office at one time. It's funny what happens when you spend the money the way it's supposed to be spent." And I thought that was very, very insightful of essentially this layperson of the community. We have been working hard to be prudent stewards of the taxpayers' money, but I don't think that always means not to spend the money. It means to spend the money responsibly, and that's what we've done. I have a commitment to mental health. I'm working with the St. Tammany Behavioral Health Force. I'm working with President Brister and the Southeast Louisiana Project, the Safe Haven Project. We've tried to increase the quality of care through psychiatrists. We are trying to improve the equipment needs and anticipate future equipment needs as we begin to put the budget together. The pathologist that was approved by the council a few months ago was taken out of reserve funds. We need operational funds to move forward to continue to pay for that pathologist so that we can continue to grow. I will tell you, I got a call. I've talked to a couple of dozen people who all say, "You're doing a great job. We understand your support. We understand why the council rolled the millage back when the office was out of control. But we feel like it's time to roll the millage forward to give you the tools that you need to continue to do a good job and to improve the office." We are hoping to add services to the office. And most importantly, we're hoping to add a sexual assault nurse examiner that will head up a sexual assault response team in St. Tammany Parish. This is an imperative under what I refer to as the Helena Moreno laws that were recently passed. There is a lot more responsibility on the parish and on the coroner's office to make sure the victims of sexual assault get an adequate examination that are going to help to find the perpetrators and to help get a high conviction rate. The standard of care in emergency medicine is clearly sexual assault nurse examiners. The mechanics of having sexual assault nurse examiners at every single hospital is prohibitive. The logical place to put that sexual assault nurse examiner is at the coroner's office so that she or he could serve the parish in the entire parish as a foreign examiner in the hospitals. So again, I did get a call from a constituent who said, I can't believe you have the gall to ask for a roll-up in the millage. It was from Mandeville. I'm not sure whose constituent he was, but he said, you know, I think it's ridiculous. And I said, well, you know, the coroner does a lot of things. We have a commitment to mental health. We have a commitment to sexual assault examination. He said, well, that's ridiculous. All you should do is to investigate the 5 or 6 homicides that occur in St. Tammany Parish a year, and you shouldn't do anything else. And I said, well, thank you, sir, but there's something called the state constitution that mandates the duties of the coroner. He said, well, it shouldn't be in the Constitution. You shouldn't be doing all this stuff. I have to admit, if it was a debate, he won, because I couldn't answer that politely. And so I let him finish. There wasn't a lot of discussion on my part. I thanked him very much, and I hung up. I am respectfully here asking you to give me the support that I need to make the Regional Forensic Science Center the state-of-the-art facility that it has the potential to be able to maintain the DNA lab at its current level of services, and to help me move forward in providing a sexual assault response team to St. Tammany Parish that this parish deserves. Thank you. I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Preston.
Thank you.
I don't have any more cards, but I do see one of the director that's here that represents one of our agencies, and that's Miss Diane Bayham. Miss Diane, you want to come?
Hi, I'm Diane Bayham, Executive Director at Stark, and I could never begin speaking to this group without thanking Ms. Pat and all of you for the support that you give to our individuals with disabilities in St. Tammany Parish and to their families. All of us, of course, want to become a senior citizen. Some of us are already there. And then all of us are just one accident or incident away from needing the services that Stark provides in our community. You're receiving a handout that will give you a lot of information, including the number of people in each city that we serve in this parish. In 1999, 56% of the voters voted for our Stark and Coast to share 2 meals. And then again in 2008, we were on the ballot. And at that time, 63% of the voters in St. Tammany Parish chose to make an investment in the lives of our special citizens and our senior citizens. And we are very, very grateful for that. Tonight, our board president, Mr. Steve DeVerney, is here. Mr. Jimmy Dykes, one of our board members, Ms. Eve Bobbitt, our chief financial officer, and Mr. Bill Davis, our board treasurer. Bill will come and share with you the reason that we are here tonight, asking you to help us move forward from 1.69 to 1.99 in the millage.
Thank you, Diane. I'm not going to review each.
Again, will you please?
My name is Bill Davis. I am the treasurer for the Stark board. The packet before you has information. I'm not going to review that with you. I'm going to summarize with some comments that you can see there. The funds received through this parish contract and millage represent only 13% of Stark's budget. Stark serves almost 1,400 clients, and over the last 4 years, as you can see in the graphs provided to you, The revenues associated with the Medicaid program and other state contracts have declined 15%, while the client growth has been 11%. During that 4-year period, we've successfully reduced expenses 5%. So our expenses are currently, 4 years later, 5% lower, although we are serving 11% greater number of clients with a 15% reduction from traditional funding in Medicaid. So this is strictly dealing with cuts from the Medicaid, DHH, unfunded mandates like the Affordable Care Act that we've had to deal with. And lastly, I would say that if you look through your materials, you'll see that the additional millage rate generates about $275,000 to the Stark Fund, while there are $614,000 of financial challenges in detail outlined there before you. So it's not as if we're asking for the taxpayers to bear the entire burden of this. We have got to come up with ways associated with about 60% of the shortfall through other funding sources and expense control to balance that budget.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
I do not have any more cards for the roll-up or continuing on a roll down of the millages. Are there any comments from the council? I guess we will wait till we do the other, not the public hearing, but when we end the regular session to discuss it to council. Anybody else in the audience? Administration? We hear a motion that we end the public hearing. I'm sorry. Peter Gitz. Mr. Peter Gitz, Mayor of Madisonville.
Thank you very much for giving me a few seconds. I want to thank the council if they can possibly help the library system. We was very fortunate after storms that we lost our library. We was fortunate enough to be able to give a piece of land to the library board. And thank y'all for putting a new library down there. We've had, in a year and a half, we had 95,000 people that went through our gates, doors at the library. So I'm asking the council to look forward and helping the library system. Thank you very much. I'm a little bit hoarse, but thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody else? Your motion to end the public hearing? Motion made and seconded to end the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll call to order the section on, we need a roll call again? Okay. So now we like another roll call, please.
Mr. Dean? Yes. Mr. Sharp? Here. Mr. Thompson? Mr. Faulkner? Here. Mr. Gould? Mr. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Groby? Here. Mr. Canulet? Here. Mr. Belisario? Here. Ms. O'Brien? Here. Mr. Stefanczyk? Here. Mr. Bender? Here. Mr. Artigue? Here. Mr. Smith? Here. You have a quorum.
All right, we're going to take these one at a time, and I'm doing it the way they're presented on this sheet that I have, and the first one is the library. The maximum authorized millage for the library is 6.330. The adjusted maximum is 6.29. The 2014 millage was 5.350. Do we hear a motion? To do what?
To start discussions?
Oh, well, we're discussing it. I'm ready for you to discuss it.
Yeah. You want to start with District 1?
Yeah, we're going to just do one at a time.
We're going to do each one of these, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think
This one is
Excuse me, Chairman?
library.
Jerry wants to make the motion. on
Mr.
this
Chair?
one.
I believe you have to, there's a resolution that you have to adopt first before you vote on the increased millages. First, you have to adopt the first resolution to establish the adjusted millages, and then you can move forward with voting on whether or not to increase any.
We was gonna pass a resolution on each entity, and depending on what we did.
The process is set forth in the state law, and this is the process that we've been instructed to follow by the Legislative Auditor's Office.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to pass a
All right, we
resolution
need
on all of them
resolution number
adjusted.
1 is council series numbers C-4370, resolution establishing adjusted millage rates for the year 2015.
So moved.
Can I,
Mr. Canulet, Mr. Stefanczyk, any discussion by the council?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Right here's the adjusted millage rate on this piece of paper. We're
Okay, that's
doing the
exactly
adjusted millage rates right now.
Wait a minute now, we got somebody that has the floor. Mr.
We gotta roll something down.
Falconer.
Okay, so what we will be voting on right now is to establish in the instance of the library, basically ratify the 5.35 millage that's shown in that column. I'm just confused.
The first resolution, C-4370, will establish the adjusted millages, and in this case, you would be voting on, the library millage would be 6.29 mils. So you will first adopt the resolution number 1, and then we will adopt resolution number 2, and that's the one that you're going to vote on individually for each tax. Some you will likely be going down, and others you will be establishing the same adjusted millage again. It's just the process that's required under the state law.
This particular resolution applies to all of them, I assume?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
It applies to all of them? The
Yes.
next resolutions or the next motions will reply to, individually, we will go to do what we're going to do with each entity individually. Understand?
Yes.
Maureen?
So this one is in Globo, and next is
This
gonna...
one is required by the
Okay.
legislative auditor, and the next one's gonna be what we want to do.
Okay, so all of them. All of them.
This is 4370. Any other discussion? Ready to vote?
Motion passes 12 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent.
Okay, now I assume we will go to the library, and somebody needs to make a motion as to what we want to do.
I'd like to make a motion, start just on the list, as you've said, for each tax, and start off with the library on what we want to set for the millage for 2015. And I would recommend that we start with District 1 and work our way through, just like we did last year.
Okay, that works.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Chair,
All we need is a resolution to set it.
The resolution is to put the adjusted millage, or the millage at 6.290.
That's your motion?
Yeah,
I'll make the motion at 6.29 then.
Here, second?
This for the library.
Yes.
Mr. Smith, seconded.
Chair, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I recommend that when we discuss Resolution C-4371, if we could take the items in order on the resolution and vote on each one, starting with alimony?
That's what we're doing.
I
Oh,
thought,
no, I'm sorry, you're
I
on.
thought you recommended library first, and if we could go in order, that way we'll address them all, one at a time.
We got two different lists then.
Leslie?
Yes, sir.
Leslie?
Yes, sir.
We're working off a different list.
Yes.
That's the problem. Because we got alimony down as the 8th or
You-
9th one.
She wants to go according to the resolution, which is C-4371. The list that you have in front of you is just a chart breaking down the ones that are requesting to move forward.
Where is the resolution?
This is ridiculous.
So what you're saying, Leslie, is you want us to do parish alimony rule first?
Okay.
Yes, sir, I'd like to consider Resolution Council Series C-4371 to consider an increase in millage rates, And if we will take each one, beginning with the parish government taxes, which we are not recommending an increase for. So we're recommending, yes, we're recommending that we adopt a millage equal to the 2014 levy on each of those.
Be in the parish government section?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, I understood we had to do each one of them individually.
Yes, I think you should do each one individually. Just read each one aloud, and we'll name what the 2015 levy will be.
Yes, we need to do each one of them separately.
No, wait a minute.
It's on the back of this.
Mr. Chair, I presume what we're doing is the new list we got with the grand recap. We're going down to the tax district millages and voting on alimony number 1.
According to the resolution, parish alimony, rural, correct, alimony 1.
Yes.
It is, the 2014 levy was 3 mills, and that's what the administration is recommending. We remain at 3 mills.
I will make the motion then to adopt the administration's request to maintain the 3.00 mills.
Second.
Discussion? Reed?
Yes, I'd like to say a few words just about the overall tax burden. There has been some discussion about this tonight, and I want to do this with this first issue because I don't want it to be specific necessarily to any particular issue that's out there before us tonight. I want to point out some statistics that I was gratified to see that the staff has provided everybody with the list of property taxes across the state of Louisiana from the Tax Commission's annual report. And I would just highlight for my colleagues that if you look down there, the average property tax in St. Tammany Parish is 150.9 mills. The parishes that are higher than St. Tammany basically are Allen Parish at 153, Caldwell is close at 142, Grant Parish is 172, and LaSalle Parish is 160. In speaking with the staff at the Tax Commission, their speculation is that the reasons those property taxes are so much higher than the state average, if you look at the bottom, the state average is actually 103.71, is that those parishes are very rural in nature, and there's just not a lot of property that exceeds the homestead exemption in those areas. So in order to have operating funds for their parish governments, the agencies
Reed,
in those...
I might ask you to get specific to this resolution, and I don't need to talk about Union Parish or Tensall or what they got, and I don't think that's germane to what we're discussing here tonight. Why are we comparing ourselves with other parishes? We got to take care of
Because,
St. Tammany.
right, I understand,
You know,
Mr.
let's-
Chairman.
Let's don't get off on tangents now, 'cause we'll be here all night.
I'm not getting off on a
Yes,
tangent,
you are.
Mr. Chairman. I am trying to illustrate the fact that our parish pays virtually the highest property
That's all you
tax in
gotta
the state.
say. We
And
know we are.
then let
And
me-
that's why we the great parish that we are.
Let me make one more point, Mr. Chairman. Orleans Parish pays 146, Tangipahoa pays 85, and Washington Parish pays 113.
Would you like
That's
to
what
be
we're.
one of those parishes?
That's what our small business is competing with. I'm trying to speak on behalf of small business here tonight that has to pay those taxes. I'm trying to remind my colleagues that when property taxes are calculated, they're calculated different from, for residential property where you can apply the homestead exemption compared to commercial property where improvements are assessed at 15%. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence.
Mr. Bellisario.
Well, I fully understand where Reed is coming from, and I agree with you. We don't compare ourselves to others. The people in this parish, by various portions, have taxed themselves differently. I live in the Slidell area. Our millage is 152 point something. We're one of the highest areas. But the people have decided to tax themselves, and I tell people consistently in my community meetings like I did on Monday night, When you don't vote in a tax election, you have voted yes. And so therefore, if a small group of people go out and vote yes for a tax and 90-some percent, like what happened on Fire District 1's parcel fee, there was an 8% turnout. So therefore, 92% of the people voted yes. And we have done this to ourselves because the people want to have these various services. What I believe we're doing tonight is to try and set the taxes for 2015, because next year, to me, is the most difficult year, because we're going to be looking at the assessor establishing the valuations of all the property in the parish, and then come up with a millage recommendation for all these different taxing districts. And we need to make sure that we set the proper basis today to make sure that all these taxing bodies have the amount of money they need to do their job. And next year, we look at the roll back and roll forward and try and minimize any roll forwards. Thank you.
Ms. O'Brien?
Yes, just like Mr. Falconer, I know in my district, I hear a lot about complaints about taxes. I have to say, over and over again, I've heard how much is enough. Now, I have asked our assistants to send the grand recap for 2007 to 2014, the value of 1 mil of parish government, to all of our colleagues here. And basically what you're looking at on a parish-wide basis, the value of 1 mil has changed substantially through the years. And I think that's why several of my constituents who really truly understand millages do have a little bit of an issue with rolling forward. Now, I don't say that anything that's been requested tonight is a bad thing, and I certainly agree with the importance of the library and the coroner's office, Star Coast, all of them. They do great work. But if you look at the value of 1 mil in 2007, it was valued at $1,288,735.82. If you fast forward to 2014, that value of that 1 mil has gone up to $1,777,611.52. What some of the people from RPEC were trying to say earlier is that even without an increase in millage, we have seen an increase in revenue. The assessor has done a great job at identifying properties that were not on the rolls previously. We see assessed valuations go up. We see a lot of people moving into this parish. But I will tell you, I used to hear people talk about, well, I might just move out of this parish because they're not interested in paying a lot of taxes. This past year, I didn't hear I might. I have heard of several people who have. So I understand both sides of the argument, but I have to tell you from my side of the district, I'd say it's probably about 75-25 if I really counted it out, that really truly love this parish. And it's not that they don't support these entities, they really do. What they're saying is they feel like the tax burden is to where it's too much. And I have to respect what I'm hearing from my constituents.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. You got something else? I'm sorry, Jake.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Earlier in one of the comments made by Ms. Bayham, I want to bring her back up and ask her a question real quick.
Jake?
Yes, Ms. Bayham.
Jake.
I'm sorry.
We're not going to get into a question and answer thing with
Well, the question
We've
was.
already made their presentation. If you got a question, direct it to the chair. If I can't answer it for you, then we'll.
All right, Mr. Chairman. One of the statements made earlier that was alluded to, but it wasn't expounded on, was that the cost of the Affordable Care Act impacted their budget badly. I'd like to clarify how much it's impacted their budget. Do you have that answer?
$129,000, I believe, that's what figure I heard.
Was it $29,000 of an impact?
120.
100.
Is the actual number. 115 is the number today.
Thank you.
It's in their report.
So,
It's in their report.
okay. Thank you, Chair.
Reed, you have something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something that my friend in Slidell, Mr. Belisario, said. He said that they actually pay 151 mills in Slidell. That's the, well, it averages up, certainly.
It actually is 176.94.
If you live in the city of Slidell.
If you live in the city of
Yeah,
Slidell.
I live in the city.
I'm just.
My district is
I'm just
totally
clarifying
outside
it.
the city.
Right. I'm saying that with the city tax within the city of Slidell, they pay 176.94 residential assessment.
Mr. Canulet?
Yeah. We can sit here and split hairs all night, but the reality of where we live today, the federal government is cutting services across the board. Healthcare, drainage, they're cutting. So we have a decision to make. Someone's gonna have to pick up the slack to maintain the style of life that this parish is accustomed to. We have to make a decision tonight. We wanna go forward, or we wanna go backwards. It's up to us.
Thank you. Mr. Bender?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me first say that our respective views of all of my colleagues here on the council, we've all been duly elected, and I understand that. I know the people in the audience understand that. I do want to say one thing, though, and my colleague, Ms. O'Brien, is absolutely correct on a point that she made, and that is that the value of a mill in St. Tammany Parish in 2007 was $1,285,000. That's the value of one mill. That's not revenue, it's the value of one mill. The fact that the value of one mill in 2014 is $1,772,000 tells me one thing, Mr. Chairman. People aren't leaving our parish, they're coming here to live. The businesses are coming here to do business. Okay? There's only one way the value of the mill can go up by $500,000, and that is because business has grown, homeowners have grown, subdivisions have grown, and that is the predominant entity that drives up what the value of a mill is. If conversely, all of a sudden we had flight from our parish, that $1,772,000 would go down next year or the year after or the year after. Now, one last thing, Mr. Chairman. The only thing that I did any heavy research on, and I don't want to get into a bunch of research.
Please.
But, Robert, that was not nice of you looking at your watch. No, I just want everybody to understand what I look at, and it's two things. What did the taxpayers, when they went, what did the registered voters, when they went to the polls, say? I happen to just pull up the library because I did. It's the biggest entity here tonight. And in 2007, the 63,500 voters, it occurred at the governor's election. The lieutenant governor, all the legislature, the parish president, the parish council members, a huge turnout. 63,500 people voted yes to 6.33 mills for 15 years beginning in 2010 by a 63-point-something% yes to a 36-point-something% no. Now, I want to congratulate the library because let me tell you, in '08, the very next year, they never took 6.33. For 4 years, they took 5.38. Then for the next 3 years, they took 5.35. Their lack of greed saved us $10,588,000 over those years. That the taxpayers overwhelmingly said, you can have it. And I appreciate what the RPEC members said, because this goes to the point. They were good stewards and said, you know what? We don't need 6.33. We'll do with less and try to be as conservative as possible. But now I know more than I knew 2 years ago. And I know the buildings are decaying. And capital improvements cost a lot of money, okay? So, you know, I'm going to support this tonight. And
Mr. Chairman, point of order, I don't believe we're talking about the library right now.
Mr. Chairman,
Let's hold it down to just, I know your example was the library, but we're talking about right now is the alimony.
Thank you, Mr. Falconer.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I thought you were the chairman.
I thought so too. Is there any other question, any other discussion? You call for the question?
Call question.
Question's been called for. Vote on your machine, please.
Repeat the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, this is to leave the parish, rural parish alimony tax at the 3.0 levy that was levied in 2014.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, the next one is the parish alimony for cities, and the adjusted millage, the maximum millage allowed is 151, the adjusted millage is 150, 2014 is 150, and they're recommending that it stay at 1.50.
Make
So
a
moved.
motion. So moved.
Mr. Stefanski, Mr. Belisario, discussion? Ready for the question? Please vote.
Get your light on.
Mr. Dean, Mr. Sharp, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Faulkner. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
The next entity is the drainage maintenance. The maximum millage is 2.17. The adjusted mills was 2.16. 214, it was 1.83. Administrators are recommending 1.83. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Ready to vote? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Next is public health. The maximum millage was 184. I don't know why it's not available for the adjusted millage. I guess it was the same, 184. And the 2014 levy was 1.83, and that's a recommendation from the administration. Mr. Belisario, Mr. Stefanski, discussion. All in favor, please vote. The ones that don't, that are not in favor, you all vote too.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right. The next one is the library. I'm sorry, animal service. The maximum millage is 1.0. The adjusted millage is 0.99. 2014 is 0.85. The parish is recommending that it stay at 0.85.
So moved.
Fonzick, Mr. Bender. Any discussion? Please vote. Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman, no, you can go ahead and vote. I would just like just a moment to make just one point in listening to all the conversation. If you have just seen, the parish government is staying as it has the last 2 years. And while I do know that the taxes in St. Tammany Parish, the millage is 1.59, I hope everyone takes note that our millage is only 8.0. And out of all of that 159. So I just wanted to make that point as you vote. Thank you.
Anybody else? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, now the library. The maximum millage for the library is 6.33. The adjusted millage is 6.29. The 2014 levy is 5.35. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we maintain the adjusted millage of 6.29 mils.
Mr. Stefanczyk and Mr. Smith,
Yeah, it's open for discussion. Yeah.
discussion? Who's like, Maureen?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, one of the things, and like I said, I don't see that people in my district don't support the library. That's not what I'm saying at all. Certainly, we all have childhood memories of books and reading to our kids and all that other stuff. One of the things I do hear a lot, and Bill Allen mentioned it, was the increased utilization of technology. And, you know, the best predictor of the future is the past. And if we look at the last 5 to 10 years, for sure, we see an increase in technology. I would ask that, I have a strange feeling this will pass, so I would just, on behalf of my district, make an appeal for funds going to more technology. As technology is utilized more and more and costs less and less and more people have access to it, I truly believe that we're going to have more people accessing the materials on at the library system via internet as opposed to as many people walking into the buildings. Now, that's not what we have right now, and I understand that in some areas. But if you fast forward 5 years or 10 years, that may be the case. And I know some people disagree with that, but we don't know for sure. So I hope that's something that's considered by the library board to increase revenues for technology, e-books, things like that. That is something I heard over and over and over again in my district.
I just remind you, Ms. O'Brien, and the rest of the board, that when we go over the budget for the following next year and what have you, the library will come forth with us with a budget and tell us what they're going to do with their money. And that will be the time for us to make those suggestions and what have you as to how they spend their money and what have you.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Steve?
Yes, I used to serve on the library board and went through a lot of major changes with the library system and you know, had to replace roofs and stuff back then. Since I'm limited to the library, but you know, my point is this: we had, as Richard just said, we had budget hearings last October in this room, and the people that were here were the people who were making a presentation to us, and 2 people from the press. Sometimes we had 2 there, and sometimes, you know, and probably I think one night we had 2 other people. That's the majority of what shows up whenever we talk about and we hold these people accountable, and we do hold them accountable. And I think, quite frankly, I'm going to say for all 3 of them that we're looking at tonight are the 4 groups, library, Coast, Stark, and the coroner. I've worked with all of them this past year. I'll tell you what, they are good stewards of our public money. And they are in a bind. They've taken the cuts every year. The coroner, we reduced a couple years ago and said, when you come back and give us a good program, we'll look at raising that money back. So, and I believe they've done that. I believe that they've met their goal. I believe that Stark has done it. I believe that Coast has done it. And I believe that the library has done it. So all of those are all of those. And one of the things I would tell you, and everybody talks about how much like a mill is increased. You know what? The library in 2007, we only had about 125,000 people, and now we have 150,000 people, or 174, whatever it is. And the point of it is, we're serving more people, and we are getting a little bit more money, but we are serving more people with the dollars that we're getting in these areas. So, thank you.
And bricks and mortar costs a lot more too. Any other discussion, Mr. Shaw?
I would just like to say that I wholeheartedly support this increase for the library, and I want to thank the library people, all of you supporters, for showing up here this evening, being so well prepared, and showing us that you do know how to do business for the library, and you will be responsible with this increase. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes 11 yeas, 2 nays, 1 absent.
The next agency is Council on Aging in Stark. Their maximum millage is 2. The adjusted millage is 1.99. This year they levied 1.69. They're asking for 1.99, I believe.
I move that we set it at
Mr. Canulette
1.99.
and Mr. Ballesteros at 1.99. Is that, you got the light on, Mr. Bryan? Go ahead.
Okay. I do come from a very conservative district that does not want a tax increase, but I will have to say, when I spoke to people about these different increases, Coast and Stark were the only ones that were receiving support. So I am, and I won't say it was overwhelming, but I feel that I can say that at least 50% were in favor of that. So even though we are very conservative in our tax spending dollars, I will support this issue.
Any other discussion? Jake, you're in. All right, please vote.
Motion passes 12 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent.
The next department is the St. Tammany Coroner. The maximum millage of 3.40. The adjusted millage is 3.38. 2014 is 2.96 mills. What's the recommendation?
Motion second.
To go to the adjusted millage of 3.38. Mr. Bender seconded. Any discussion? Heard the vote? I'm sorry, Maureen, go ahead.
I was going to say, I did have some support for this agency also. It was not up to 50%, but I will say that one of the things that I am comforted by is the fact that we do have a public health millage that in 2015, for example, just one line item was Volunteers of America Crisis Response. That alone was $500,000. We do have a lot of money going to public health millage in wellness, behavioral health, and suicide prevention. So I did want to say, even though my district did not support this wholeheartedly, we do see that there are a lot of tax dollars going to mental health, and I think it's important that y'all know that we do have that expenditure, and we are taking care of this in many different areas. There's a lot of organizations doing great work getting these tax dollars.
Mr. Bender.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to, with the coroner, echo what since now we've gotten to the last between the library, Star Council on Aging in the corner, echo what Mr. Stefancic said, and regardless of how we vote, I have to acknowledge that, in my opinion, these four entities do such a great job. They are well-run. It is a pleasure every time that I, as a council member, have to deal with the people involved in these four agencies. And by the way, there are many great agencies in our parish, okay? I will tell you, I'm in the Slidell Towers building quite often, and Stark cleans our building. And I'll tell you one thing, you have to see these people working hard, meticulously cleaning everything. The carpet.
We passed Stark, Mr. Bender. We're on the corner right now.
I tried my best, yeah.
Well, I tried too, Mr. Bender. You know, you got to go with it, man.
Reed, I think I'm with you on this one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith?
He voted yes.
Motion passes 11 yeas, 2 nays, 1 absent.
Okay, the last ones are the lighting districts. Lighting district number 1, maximum millage, 4.17. Adjusted mill not available. 2014 levy is 4.15. They're going to, I think the recommendation is they stay at 4.15.
So moved.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Lighting district number 4, 4.07 is the maximum. The adjusted is not available because this is a new, and this year it was levied at 4.03, and that's the recommendation.
So moved.
Mr. Canulet and Mr. Belisario, discussion. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Lighting district number 5, the maximum millage is 5.0. The adjusted millage is 4.95. This year's millage was at 3.14. What's the recommendation? Motion made and seconded that we go with the, leave it the same at 3.14. Artigue, and Belisario. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Lighting district number 6, maximum millage could be 2.61. The adjusted millage was 2.60. Past year, or this year, millage was 2.15, and that's the recommendation. Mr. Smith, Mr. Groby, any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Lighting district number 16, maximum millage 2.00, adjusted millage 1.99, levied this year is 1.20.
Skip 7, I'm sorry.
All right, I'll go back to them. if Mr. Long can keep up with where we at, we'll go back to it.
If she turns around, you're on your own.
Any discussion? We're voting on library district number 16. Belisario and Canulet.
Repeat the motion, Mr. Chairman. Is this to keep it at the 1.2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Lighting district number 7, 3.01 is the max. Adjusted is not available. It's a new one. 2.98 was levied this year, and that's the recommendation. Belisario. Ortiz, seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, at this time, we need to pass this resolution with this, with
Mr.
these
Chairman, I
figures
think we've
filled out.
skipped one.
Pardon?
Did we not do the mosquito district?
No, they're on,
That's not ours.
that's
Oh,
not
okay.
ours.
I'm going by the,
Yes.
I know.
oh my God,
But
sorry.
they're not, I can tell you the mosquito districts are not rolling up, they're staying the same. Can I have it, adopt the, I think somebody made this motion already. Who made the resolution initially? Belisario and Stefanczyk. And this will be the resolution number C4371 that goes to the assessor for the assessment of millages for 2015. Any discussion? Please vote. We don't have any. Partial fee.
Motion passes, 12 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent.
Okay, the next resolution is 4372, which is parcel fees for the year of 2015. We will take them in the order that they are. First of all, let me have a motion to the resolution.
Second.
Canulet and Belisario. And the first one is drainage district number 1 of drainage district number 3, a $60 parcel fee. Now, we're gonna do, no, they don't go down or up, it's, I assume.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. They do not change based on reassessment. It's not based on value.
Yeah, it's a parcel fee.
It's a parcel fee, and they're maintaining that.
Can we vote on all of them at once?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're gonna look at the parcel fees, drainage district number 1, lighting district number 9, lighting district number 10, 11, 14, and 15, and it looks like lighting district number 9 has 0 parcel fees, so I don't know why that's on there.
It was, there was an election earlier, I guess in late 2014, and it did not pass.
Okay. Any discussion on the parcel fees? Please vote. Any discussion on the, I'm sorry.
Motion is unanimous. I'm sorry, motion passes, 11 yeas, 2 nays, 1 absent.
I'm sorry. Any discussion on the resolution 4372, filled out as the parcel fees we just approved? Seeing none, please vote. Now we're finished. Now we're finished. Did I vote? Did you vote, please?
Motion passes 10 yeas, 2 nays, 2 absent.
Okay. No, we don't. Yeah, the next thing is a presentation of proclamations.
Mr. Chairman, can we take a short break to let the people, unless they're gonna stay here for these other things, to, leave the room, but I don't know that all of them want to stay for the rest of the meeting.
We'll have a 10-minute break.
I just thinking,
I know that.
Okay, you started to read this. Oh, it's all my fault. You were correct. It's always my fault.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is the ordinance calendar number 5398, ordinance amending and reenacting the St. Tammany Parish Home Rule Charter, subject to approval by the electorate of St. Tammany Parish and otherwise providing with respect thereto. And you have that ordinance with you. And what is the pleasure of the council?
Move to introduce for adoption, for discussion.
Yeah, it's up for adoption.
Yes. He
You
moves.
move to adopt, Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Stefanczyk. Do I have any cards? Anybody want to discuss this? No? Okay, council discussion. Mr. Smith?
I have an amendment.
You want to who's making the amendment? Okay, can we hear the amendment, Mr. Smith?
Okay, under part number 5, which currently has in there the sections 219, Article 2, and Section 4-03 of Article 4. That's what was in there, which contained both council attorneys and administration attorneys. We're going to replace that with just Section 4-03.
I need to hear this.
And it will be, there's 2 sections in there, as you can see. The council attorneys are up at 219, and Section 4-03 is legal department. And I'm going to read this out, but everybody should have a copy of it in front of you. We passed it out. There is one word change on this that needs to be done, of the piece that you have in front of you. Under Section 4-03, first of all, under Part 5, we will strike out Section 2-19 as council attorneys. The entire section will be stricken out, and we will replace the piece at the bottom with Section 4-03. It says, A, the president, without the necessity of council approval, shall appoint an executive council who shall serve at the pleasure of the president. The executive council shall, 1, direct the legal department and its respective staff. 2, serve as legal advisor to the parish president, parish employees, and all departments comprising parish administration. That word is administration, not government. Okay? Section 3, represent and direct representation for the parish president, parish employees, and/or parish government in legal proceedings. And 4, co-administer parish litigation with council attorneys. And you can see the word appointed is stricken out there. Section B, no special legal counsel shall be retained by the parish president, by parish government, except by written contract for a specific purpose approved by the favorable vote of a majority of the authorized membership of the council. Such authorization shall specify the compensation, if any, to be paid for such services. Notwithstanding the foregoing in matters involving a conflict between parish president and council, whether direct or indirect, the parish president shall have the authority to retain outside legal counsel by written contract for the specific purpose giving rise to said conflict. Section 3, the operating budget for the executive council, legal department, and the respective staff members of each of the foregoing shall be subject to the requirements of Article 5. That's replacing that whole section.
Is that an amendment, Mr.
Yes, it is. That's the amendment. I
Second to
move
that
to
amendment?
adopt this amendment.
Motion made, the amendment's been made and seconded, it's open for discussion. The council understand what the amendment is, first of all? All right, discussion, Mr. Smith?
Nope.
No discussion? Anybody have a discussion?
I just want to say we've worked a long time to get to this point, and certainly appreciate the administrative staff and our staff, legal, and working this documentation through with everything to get something that's acceptable to all of us. So Kelly and your staff, thank you, and Terry and your staff, thank you very much. I really appreciate the effort there.
All right, seeing no other discussion, administration, you have any? Pat, do you have anything on this?
It has taken several people working on this to get something acceptable that I think will work for all of us. So thank you all.
Seeing no more discussion, will you vote?
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Is there any other discussion on the ordinance as amended? Everybody understands what we're doing? Okay. Please vote. Oh, I'm sorry. The amendment is substantial changes to the original ordinance, so this is going to, actually, we're introducing this ordinance again, and so it'll lay over for 30 days, and we'll be ready for passage or rejection at the next council meeting. Are you ready to vote on the, well, we don't need to vote on it. We voted on the amendment already. Yes, sir. You looking at me like?
Mr. Chairman, and one other thing I'd like to bring up on this is the chairman of the Charter Commission is in the audience, and I would
Where?
like to recognize her for the effort that she put forth in getting this to us, for the last 6 months. And without that leadership, I don't think we would have had what we've got, this entire package that we're going forth with. So, Michelle Blanchard was the chairman of that, and I wanted to recognize her
Yeah,
as well.
and she did do an
Thank you.
excellent job. Matter of fact, she was the one that taught me how to call you and Mr. Bender and Mr. Falconer to order. And hey, Jerry, you tell me that if somebody does something nice, you're supposed to thank them and tell them they did a good job, right? And she did an excellent job with the Charter Commission. Okay, presentations. Ms. Brewster, you gonna do the presentations of proclamation to St. Tammany Government Employee of the Month? Do I need to, oh, it's not me?
No, it's not you. Guess again. We have started this program, as I've mentioned before, every month recognizing an employee that has gone above and beyond the duty. And this, the July Employee of the Month is Gretchen Seymour. So I'd ask Gretchen to please come up. Gretchen and I have worked together for quite some time. When I was on the Environmental Service Commission, before it was part of parish government, Gretchen and I worked together, and she's done an excellent job for so many years, and she's continuing to do so. We thank you very much for your efforts and for your loyalty to St. Tammany Parish. We're all very proud of you, and thank you very much, Gretchen. Thank you.
Before Gretchen sits down and
You get something.
before she sits down and she gets her picture taken, I want to tell you that Gretchen was working for the parish when I was on the council in 1980. So that's how long she's been
still
here.
with us. Isn't that great? Thank you, Gretchen, very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I do have, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry? Right, she was. She was a baby. We hired them very young then. Mr. Chairman, I do have one more, if you would allow me. It's not on the agenda, but I would like to recognize Jackie Nunemaker. If Jackie would come up, please. I want to recognize Jackie in recognition of 15 years of dedicated service to the parish of St. Tammany, and for your commitment of excellence in performing your duties, including the manning of emergency phones at the EOC during Katrina and other storm events, and for the countless hours spent assisting others to complete disaster claims, loan applications, and departmental budgets, and for handling all the council actions for the finance department. And I make this proclamation on today because Jackie has decided to move on. She has gotten a bigger and bigger job. I won't say better, because I think this one was good. But we thank you for your service and your loyalty, Jackie, and we wish you the very best in whatever you do. Thank you very much. I should have had Leslie come up and do this with me, but I was afraid she'd start crying, so I didn't. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next is a presentation by Lise Nassari, how you say that? Nakari, Director of Compensation Barrels for Indigent Babies, and I got to postpone.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Lisa had another obligation that was going to reach out to a lot more families, so she asked us to let her come back in August, please. Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to postpone. Please vote. To August, postpone to August. I know. Talking about teary-eyed, now we're gonna do Richie Artigue's presentation.
Mr. Smith? Thank you. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
He opened it.
Ms. Pat, Dina, can y'all please come over? Man, y'all gonna get more out of me tonight than y'all have got in 2 years talking. This is for you. I don't think we need that. Can you get the rest of the council to come on up behind here? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. You seen that cake? You seen that cake, huh? This goes with the cake.
Take notes.
Hey, TJ. All right. Real quick. Kumbaya, that's right. They asked me to do this for Richie. I want to say a quick word. It's been a pleasure since 2008. Richie himself is moving on to a bigger, and I ain't gonna say better, but it's a very important job. Richie is going to be the manager of the Slidell Airport. For people who don't know Richie is a pilot. He's also had a business at the Slidell Airport, and he's done several other things involved with aeronautics, so this is right up his field. But before I can really recognize Richie, I got to recognize Gail. Because without the love and the respect of your family allowing you to do this job, and no one understands the hardships more than the families of our families, of the things they have to go through that we do for the public. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Richie. All right, you ready for the presentation? Here we go. Whereas the parish government embodies a parish council to serve the legislative branch of our government and provide services for the citizens of the parish, and whereas a St. Tammany Parish council member is elected by the people and serves to implement effective government and preserve the integrity of St. Tammany Parish and its governing body, desires to recognize those dedicated individuals who serve as members and continue to the effective operations of parish government, and whereas Richie Ortigue, who served on the St. Tammany Parish Council for 8 years, from 2008 to 2015, is credited with establishing himself as a significant, and he is really significant, member of this parish council with instrumental in decision-making for the parish-wide community, and specifically the people of Council District 13 of Slidell who elected him. He has respect of his fellow colleagues for his commitment and dedication during this tenure. Now, therefore, be it remembered that St. Tammany Parish Council hereby recognizes and expresses sincere appreciation to Richie Fatigue for serving as representative council as District 13. I did forget one person. Come here, Miss Dina. Yep. Come here, Miss Dina. You're going to present Mr. Ortigue his plaque. Just so everyone's clear on this, we can't survive without our ladies and our staff. Thank y'all.
Oh, it's the subject is, I've had very, very mixed emotions about leaving. I wanted to stay and run and do both jobs. They won't let me do that. I wanted to stay for 5 more months. They won't let me do that. I couldn't get the mayor to hold the job for 5 months for me, so I got to do what I have to do. I want to thank all my colleagues, Ms. Pat, my wife. She's been with us all along, you know. But thanks everybody. I want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank some people that don't shut up when they're supposed to. Let me say this. Red has been my idol the whole time. He doesn't say anything either. Him and I keep real quiet. We keep quiet during the meeting. Everybody that's here for all the meetings, and Carla, I missed you Monday night. I went to the hospital to see if you were dead or something. I started calling the emergency room to see where's Carla. He's not here. Something's got to be wrong. Dina has been my right-hand lady throughout the whole time. She does for us all the time. All the girls. Ashley's not here. Teresa, Katrina, I see them. I don't know what to say, folks, except thank you very much. Thanks to my constituents. And you two, my eyes are on you. Let me tell you this. These 2 people are running for my position. I quit one job to run for this once before. Just think about that, folks. Thanks everybody. Carl, I'm gonna come back and sit, I'm gonna stand by you and watch what you write back there.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the consent calendar. And I have on here to pull resolutions 4327, 4373, and 4381. Are there other ones that need to be pulled? Mr. Dean? Mr. Sharp?
I didn't. Which ones did you
Thompson?
say?
Mr. Faulkner? Mr. Groby? Mr. Canulet? Mr. Belisario?
I just wanted to pull ordinance number 5428, just have a brief discussion on that for next month.
5428, okay, ordinance. Ms. O'Brien?
No.
Mr. Stefanski?
Yes, I didn't hear what the ones you read, but I want to pull resolution number 1, C4327.
It's pulled.
It's pulled.
Mr. Bender?
Yes, sir. Ordinance calendar number 5422. I have a question.
Ordinance 5422. Okay. Anything else? Mr. Artigue?
No, I don't.
Mr. Smith? Okay, if, we will pull those, and
Move to adopt the consent calendar?
motion's been made and seconded to adopt the consent calendar. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
On both of these ordinance for adoption, for, are they for, introduction? Okay. First one is ordinance calendar number 5422, an ordinance to revoke a portion of Algiers Avenue right-of-way located in the Central Park subdivision, Ward 8, District 12.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sidney, just a quick question. Anything, I mean, I've read it, but is there anything in particular unusual that we need to know about this particular revocation, or I know they've checked the utilities, the need for the street, and so on and so forth. So we can move forward with this?
Yeah, essentially, it is an unusual situation. If you know where you go behind the old Levis where they do it, where they have the movie set in movie vehicles on Berman Street, where you take a right at the pond.
Yep.
This would take a left at the pond. There's actually a right-of-way on the pond edge, and what this will allow is that's no longer needed. It doesn't go anywhere. We would revoke it. The property next door towards 433 is actually already in the city, and they would be looking to annex and create a single lot, give them some additional land once we go through the transaction, the sale of the property.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir. The next one is ordinance calendar number 5428. Ordinance to amend and reenact Chapter 18, Article 3 and
Mr. Chairman.
4 of the Parish
Mr.
Code of
Chairman.
Ordinances relative to the St. Tammany
Mr.
Parish
Chairman.
Planning Commission and Zoning Commission.
We didn't introduce the last one.
I just need to make a motion to introduce. Sorry, Richard.
I did that when you wasn't looking.
What?
You weren't looking.
Okay, we got it introduced. All right, 5428. That's relative to the St. Tammany Parish Planning Commission and Zoning Commission. Who pulled it?
I did.
Gene.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make the public aware what we are doing is working on the rules and operating procedures for both the Zoning Commission and Planning Commission to bring them into the 21st century. We will have detailed discussions on these changes to the rules of conduct for those two commissions at the agenda review meeting on July the 29th at 6 o'clock. Thank you. I also make a motion to introduce.
Motion made, second to introduce. Okay, the next is resolution. Resolution number 1, approving the issuance of not to exceed $700,000 of limited tax certificates, St. Tammany Recreation District number 4. Mr. Fonzik pulled, and
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I had this postponed a couple months already, and I'm going to ask that it be postponed again in just a minute. This would put the Recreation District 4 into some kind of bonded indebtedness or some kind of, indebtedness, and we're trying to revise that Recreation District, the boundaries of it. And, we have the ordinance coming up, I think, for introduction next month to revise that. And so I'm going to ask that this be postponed until after the boundaries for Recreation District 4 have been revised and finalized. And I don't know how many months that will take us, but certainly want this held off until then. And then I would have no problem with this going forward, so.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
We're pulling number 2, Resolution Council Series 4373, resolution granting approval to Parish Fire Protection District Number 11 to call and hold an election. Mr. Belisario.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made and second to approve. Steve, Bella, you need to discuss it any?
No, sir.
Okay. Motion made and second to approve.
Question?
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I just have a question for a point of information. Mr. Belisario probably can answer for me. Is this an election that was already held previously that did not make it?
No, sir. Our District 11 has several different villages, and this is one of those that's coming up with new.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, Resolution Council Series Number C 4381, resolution to concur or not to concur with the City of Slidell annexation and rezoning of 3.317 acres from Parish I-1 to Slidell C4, Ward 8, District 14. It's to concur or not to concur? What do you? Motion to concur, a second. Second by Mr. Canulet. Discussion. Seeing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5397, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1.327 acres from A2 to CB 1 and rural overlay, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Eric Bissell wants to speak on this.
Yes, I'm here in opposition to this matter. I didn't attend the May meeting, at which time this came up on a request to override the denial of the zoning commission's denial of this application. This is a request of Mr. and Mrs. Hickman to change 1.327 acres on Gladys Road from an A2 suburban district to CB1. That zoning commission was a strong denial. It was 10-1. It was based upon the staff's recommendation, which said, and I quote, "The staff is concerned by the intensity of some of the potential uses allowed under CB1 zoning, considering the rural nature of the area." The negative staff report also said, open quote, "The 2025 future land use call for the area to be developed as single-family residential." Now, if you would pass those out.
Eric, I'm going to tell you, you got 2 minutes.
I know, that's all. I'm going quickly. In May, the Hickmans appealed that denial to the council. They said there were already CB1 uses in the area. That's not correct. The very ones that were recited to you that night were this far away. 2.3 miles, 2.1 miles, and, if you look at the map that's being passed out to you tonight, you'll see that this is smack dab in the middle of a sea of residential zoning. You are fulfilling the requirement, the definition of spot zoning if you approve this tonight, because that's exactly what it is. And in order to approve that zoning, you need to think carefully about all of the possible onerous uses that could be used there. And under CB1, that includes bingo and lodge halls. This is just a 1.2 acre tract. Retail, including the sale of alcohol, that would be allowed there in this residential area. Batting cages, golf course, driving range with bright lighting, and tennis courts with bright lighting. This property is surrounded by residential use. You can imagine hearing a bat crack outside of your bedroom window at 9 o'clock at night. That's what's going to happen on this property. The beauty of the online streaming that the parish affords is that if you look, it lets you listen closely to the precise dialogue that has occurred at the May 7th meeting. I've listened to that meeting several times on the streamline. Tonight when you go home, go to the exact 2.0 hour point on the streaming bar to listen to the discourse of Mr. Dean pursuant to the zoning appeal. Before making his motion to override the zoning denial, Mr. Dean stated, "We were talking earlier," and he was referring to Mrs. Hickman, the applicant. He said, "We were talking earlier about allowable uses in CB1, and I believe you are going to do deed restrictions." Mrs. Hickman replied, open quote, "Yes, we would be happy to deed restrict any of the undesirable out." That has never happened. When you approved this zone, you did it with the understanding and the belief that these restrictions would protect the residential designation of the area. It's not going to do that if you approve this tonight. I urge you to deny this tonight so that what can happen is these restrictions can be done properly. There are no restrictions. We even hear word now from an email from Mr. Dean that they're expanding the use that they explained to you they would have on this property. They were going to have everything indoors. Now it's going to be outdoors. They were not going to have any outdoor.
Wind up your talk.
And that's it. I just urge you to please vote against this. Thank you.
Mr. Dean.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to hear from Ms. Hickman now, or do you want me to make my motion and just kind of have a discussion? I think Ms. Hickman would like to speak. That's okay.
Hi, Candace Hickman. I don't know if I need address and all that. 206 Red Fox Run Boulevard in Madisonville. We did have a very lengthy discussion about this 2 months ago, and I do in fact have a deed restriction that's on file with the parish, stamped with the clerk of courts, that has been filed, that does deed restrict alcohol, churches, temples, synagogues, religious educational facilities, clubs, lodges, fraternal and religious institutions, Christmas tree sales, seasonal seafood peddlers, seasonal produce stands, fireworks sales, the main building to not exceed 8,000 square feet and a height of 25 feet. All of that has been done just as I said I was going to do. It is, like I said, on file with the clerk of court. Again, we had a lengthy discussion about this last time, and I appreciate y'all giving me the time last time to speak about that. But what I did say, I did follow through with, and it is here, and it's on file with the clerk of court.
No, you not get a rebuttal. This is not a hearing.
I have just a single copy. I can go make a copy.
Mr. Dean?
Yeah, that's the one with the seal from the clerk of court. Oh, hold on. This is the one with the stamp from the clerk of court. Thanks.
What happened was it was an appeal back in May. They did discuss having a deed restriction. They were not able to have that done by the June meeting, so they asked me to postpone it, and they have gotten it done, and she forwarded it to me. I would like to make a motion to approve.
Motion made and second to approve. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just got one question, if you will.
Sure.
Is that approval with the deed restriction, Marty?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 2, ordinance calendar number 5399, ordinance to extend for an additional 6 months a moratorium on the opening of new streets in Angelica Estates.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5400, ordinance to extend for 6 months a moratorium on property abutting the Louisiana Highway 21 planned corridor from La Lane Road north to Azalea Drive, Ward 1, District 1.
So move.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5401, ordinance to amend and reenact the Parish Code nuisances to provide for changes and clarifications. And I have a speaker card, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you. Caller Hernandez, glad to be here tonight. I have operated a professional-grade decibel meter. I have also prepared ordinances similar to the one that you're considering tonight. I don't have time, unless you give me additional time, to explain. Oh, you're not going to give me, okay. I won't explain the ordinance to you. What I would like, though, is in section 14-137.00, readings of dB decibels by zoning district. The second sentence in there says, to determine the sound level, 3 readings will be taken at the complainant's dwelling or structure, and the mean, the average, of these readings will determine the actual decibel count. Now, for those of us who are familiar with the process, what you have to do, you have to go into the structure, into the building of the complainant to take the reading. You don't go outside. And what I'm suggesting to you is that you change this to now be able to go to the complainant's property. Does not distinguish that it's the structure or the dwelling. So please, if you would, I mean, how many people would like to have, activities outside of their dwelling and now have noise, coming either from next door or further down, that they can't actually, have an activity outside? Those things happen. And because of the way this is written, I can tell you it happens. So what I'm recommending to you is please make that modification. And I'm hoping that, the other changes seem, legitimate. I'm wondering why you had to, just now include all the other, zoning districts that you're not including. But those are all good changes. So please, if you would consider doing that, I think you would greatly improve this, this ordinance. Thank you. Oops.
Ordinance, is anybody else? No. All right, what's the pleasure of the council? Mr. Bender.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I want to make sure that I understand correctly what Mr. Hernandez was saying, okay? At first, do you want to let Mr. Hernandez come up here, or should I ask Mr. Hand? Okay, Terry. Yes, sir. At first, when Mr. Hernandez was speaking, when he said you have to go inside the dwelling, okay? I thought he was going to say that there are decibel meters that you can stand X number of feet outside of a dwelling, okay, and gauge inappropriate noise, because we used them back in the late 90s and early 2000s. But then he went to outside activities. So am I understanding that this in some way would stop people from, let's say they had a 4th of July at their home, and people came over for the 4th or for a graduation or something where people are outside, and there's a certain amount of noise, certainly not, you don't want abusive amount of noise. Terry, do you understand my question?
I do. I didn't work on this specific ordinance. I believe it was done by Mr. Neil Hall. Oh, never mind, Mike did it. So I would defer to Mike.
And forgive me, Mr. Bender, I didn't hear all of Mr. Hernandez's comments because I was walking around after making that copy from the previous case. But if he is referring to that one sentence, to determine the sound level, 3 readings will be taken at the complainant's dwelling or structure, and the means of these readings will be determined the actual decibel count? Is that what we're speaking about?
Yes, originally he said you have to enter the structure.
Well,
And then he went to talking about outside activities.
Well, let me start with the fact that that sentence is currently within the code. It is not included in any of the changes that are proposed in this ordinance. This ordinance's primary purpose is to make the provisions of this section of the code consistent with the zoning in our UDC, rather than the zoning classifications in our former zoning ordinance 523. So I understand that Mr. Hernandez might have an issue with this language, but it's not relevant to what this ordinance is proposing to amend in the code. So he would essentially be asking you to make additional amendments beyond what this ordinance proposes.
Okay. Thank you.
This ain't happening. No, we didn't. It's not on the agenda.
Doesn't the ordinance say at the structure, not in the structure?
It does.
If you'll give me a moment, Mr. Stefancic, I'll pull up the code and confirm that. Whatever this ordinance says concerning that sentence, that is what is currently within the code.
Mike, I've had to deal with this in my district, and when the sheriff's officers did the readings, they did it from inside a structure and outside at various distances.
And if I may, Mr. Belisario, I think that's a very good point. Keep in mind that our current code provisions concerning nuisance noise essentially says that decibel readings may be used as a type of evidence, if you will, at least in measuring what the sound actually was and whether or not there was a violation. It isn't absolutely necessary that decibel readings be provided or recorded. Our code essentially establishes a reasonable man standard, meaning that if somebody complains about a noise being jarring or raucous or disturbing to their peace, they can, from a practical standpoint, call the sheriff, say this noise is bothering me, it's disturbing me. Deputy comes out and essentially uses a reasonable man standard in determining whether the noise complained of actually is disturbing. In addition, the deputy can, if he has it available to him, use a decibel reading device to record what the decibel reading is, either to substantiate his finding or to potentially even dispute it. So the mere fact that we have decibel reading levels in our code, they're merely meant to be a tool rather than a requirement for determining whether there is any disturbing sound occurring.
Any other discussion? Ready to vote? We don't have a motion. Do we get a motion? Mr. Canulak?
Second.
Second by Mr. Belisario. Please vote.
in town?
Yep.
Motion passes, 12 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent.
We ain't talking about farm animals, right?
Ordinance calendar number 5402, ordinance to amend the Parish Code road lighting district to add a new section creating lighting district number 17 for a portion of Ward 3, District 5.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Ordinance calendar 5403, ordinance to impose a 6-month moratorium on property within a portion of voting precinct 914, Ward 8, District 14. Mr. Smith.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt this ordinance with one minor change in the first sentence where it says 6-month moratorium on the, and we want to continue to strike out the 2 words rezoning or. We just removing those 2 words, rezoning and or.
Can I ask what that does to the ordinance? I mean, is it something that we can do as a friendly amendment, or do we need an amendment?
I don't think we need an amendment. It's not that, it's less restricted than what we have already.
It has to be amended.
Okay.
The question is it substantive? And the answer is no.
No, it's
Okay. Is that, you want to make that amendment, Mr. Smith?
Certainly.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor of the amendment, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Any discussion on the ordinance as amended? Hearing none, please vote.
I guess he made it. Huh?
Ordinance calendar number 50, whoa. Come on, make that thing go faster.
Careful, you might violate your nose.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Ordinance calendar 5404, ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory to include Casey Court lateral, Downing Street, and Allen Road. No, that's not in there. Is there a motion? Mr. Bender? Seconded by Mr. Bellisario. Any discussion? Any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Ordinance calendar 5404, ordinance to correct the road drainage inventory to include Casey Court lateral and Downing Street, Ward 6 and 9, 11 and 12. I just did that one? That's my district.
Can I make the motion this time?
Yeah, go ahead. 2 motions in 2 seconds. Ordinance calendar 5405, ordinance to amend the parish code definition to add the definition of agricultural products related to farm winery. Introduced 6/14/15. I recommend we approve. Can't make the motion, but I want to.
So moved.
Mr. Stefanski, you can make that motion for you. Mr. Bellisario seconds it. Any discussion? Y'all, I want to invite y'all out to my winery. All those in favor, vote.
Is it noisy out there?
Uh-uh.
Out here in the wilderness with those big bodies.
Doing?
I'll bring a decibel meter.
That's not Jermaine? Ordinance calendar,
I'm sorry. Somebody didn't vote. Okay. Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
ordinance calendar 5407. Ordinance amending the Fisher Parish zoning map to reclassify 7.08 acres from A1 to A2 and A1A, Ward 2, District 6. Motion been made and seconded. Discussion?
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar 5408, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1.834 acres from A1A to A3, Ward 1, District 3. Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar 5409, an ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 20,000 square feet from A3 to A3 and mobile home overlay, Ward 6, District 6. Who made the motion?
I did.
Who seconded it?
You know what's the You don't vote, it's the
Mr. Stefanski. Any discussion? All those in favor say, please vote. Say please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar, have you got the deal? Okay, ordinance calendar 5410, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1,500 square feet from A3 to A3 and 8 mobile home overlay, Ward 10, District 6. Your second? Mr. Canulet seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
I only have 9 votes. Mr. Smith, Mr. Thompson. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5411, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 3.885 acres from A1 to A2, Ward 2, District 3. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar 5412, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 10,500 square feet from A3 to A3 in a mobile home overlay, Ward 9, District 14.
I move to adopt, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Smith, Mr. Artigue. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar 5413, ordinance to amend the 215 operating budget amendment number 5.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar 5414, ordinance establishing the placement of always stop signs at the intersection of Rapitel and Caroline Street, Ward 4, District 7.
So moved.
Groby and, no, who said? I'm sorry, Reed and Groby. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
17, ordinance to authorize the parish president to officially change the name of Pelican Boulevard to Safe Haven Parkway and incorporate Safe Haven Parkway into the parish road maintenance system, Ward 4, District 7.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Has this been brought to 911 to make sure that we don't have a duplicate road?
No, sir.
We need to do
We
that.
will. We will. We looked ourselves, but we will take it directly to them and check. And we will bring it back if there's a problem with it. But we looked for several streets and found some that we could not use, and this one had not been. So, but we'll do it officially with them.
Mr. Stefanski.
Is there anyone lives on this road?
No, I'm sorry. No, no one lives on the road. This is the road in Southeast Hospital. The road
Okay.
that goes up into Southeast Hospital.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5416, ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire certain rights of ways and or servitudes for the Ben Thomas Detention Pond Project.
Move to adopt.
Motion made and seconded to adopt. Any discussion? Mr. Smith, you got discussion?
Nope.
Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance number 5417, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 71 acres located south of Highway 22, west of Trapania Road, and east of Helen Drive to PUD, Plan Unit Development Overlay. Ward 1, District 4. Mr. Gould's district. No, Mr. Reed, that's your district. Mr. Falconer, Mr. Thompson. Discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5418, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 71 acres located south of Highway 22, west of Trapania Road, east of Helen Drive from A2 Suburban District to 8C1 Highway Commercial District to A3 Suburban District, Ward 1, District 4. Mr. Falconer, Mr. Thompson. Discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Next is appointments. Resolution to appoint Cindy Rester to replace Don Ferrara, resigned on the Board of Commissioners for Parish Recreation District number 14, and 4, I'm sorry. And I have some people who want to speak. And Kenny Kehoe.
Thank you. My name is Kenny Kehoe. I live in Lacombe. I've known Ms. Rester for approximately 3 years. I've noted that when Keep Lacombe Beautiful gets out to clean up the trash, she's one of the first ones out there working to keep Lacombe beautiful. She's a real estate agent. She's a skilled negotiator. She understands contracts. She understands construction. And she is a determined research analyst, and I think all of those skills come together to make her a wonderful asset for the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Paula Bourne.
Hi, my name is Paula Bourne. I'm a realtor also in St. Tammany, and Cindy is very good at negotiating. She's a very ethical person, and she believes in the law. So she will, go by the letter of the law, whatever the bylaws say, in being on the rec district. And I think she would make a good board member. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Beth Turking.
Good evening. My name is Beth Shepherd Turkin. I have made Lacombe my home for the last 52 years. And I'm here this evening to speak against the appointment of Ms. Rester to the board of Lacombe Rec District Number 4. For the past 3.5 years, RD4 board has been a fractured board. Several board members have had difficulty working together, and board members have resigned. Even before having officially been appointed to this board, Ms. Rester has taken it upon herself to threaten our assistant director and has stated to him that has threatened him with his job and has stated, and I quote, things are going to change around here after I am on the board. The assistant director can attest to that if necessary. Ms. Rester has been critical of RD4 employees. She's been unduly critical of the operation and maintenance of the facilities. She's made several unfounded accusations concerning the condition of the facilities. Most, if not all of you, on the Parish Council may recall that 3.5 years ago, a citizen of Lacombe spoke against the appointment of a particular board member that had erected signs against the RD4 millage. But due to the fact that his name was submitted with a group of other names, that appointment could not be voted on individually. That member has proven to be divisive, and his actions have been detrimental to the RD4 district. I, along with many members of the Lacombe community, are keenly interested in the rec district and its success, and understandably are concerned that the appointment of Ms. Rester will make an already bad situation worse. We want the RD4 board to serve the taxpayers of Ward 7 and provide the programs and appointments that we deserve. We are convinced that the appointment of Ms. Rester will continue the division that exists in the present board of directors. We need a new board member who's going to bring cohesiveness, a positive outlook, and success to our recreation district. We do not need another board member or another person on that board to continue to add to the present fractured situation. Therefore, I sincerely implore you to either postpone or decline this appointment. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Jake?
Thank you. With respect to the comments, I disagree with those. Ms. Rester has been in the community and served the Recreation District 4 and helped with many of the events from the Easter to the Halloween to the Christmas. She's been a resident of 17 years in that district. She's seen the Recreation District 4 struggle, and without question, she is replacing a board member who resigned in protest over actions of the board, as he replaced the one who resigned in protest prior to him. So I am asking that this appointment be made so we can stabilize the board and move forward. Thank you.
Gene?
Mr. Chair, I've listened to different people talk and Jake speak on this issue. I've heard from several people. I've spoken to Steve because he and I attended a meeting for Rec District 7, but we look at the rec districts. And that meeting was a very difficult meeting. And in that meeting, Steve had told me with the issues surrounding Rec District 4, he was going to remove his District 11 portion out of the rec district. And because of the difficulties I've had there with the management, with the board members, and certain types of activities that he was concerned that were not appropriate. I spoke to Jake today. He believes that there should be some type of criminal investigation. And I think in conjunction with what Steve is saying, that looking at removing his parish council district from the rec district boundaries. I think we need to postpone this to allow Jake work with our staff to look at what type of an investigation has got to be done so that we can make sure that this rec district is doing what it's supposed to be doing. I think appointing a person to it is not the thing to do. I think, I'm going on basis of what Jake told me this afternoon. I think we need to hold off. Dan Farrar has resigned, I guess for justifiable reasons. I think we're better off waiting to initiate this investigation that Jake says needs to be done before we make any decisions. Thank you.
Motion been made and seconded that we postpone. Steve?
Well, I think you
Oh,
had,
I'm sorry, TJ.
You recognize me?
Yes, sir.
For once, I can't believe Mr. Belisario and I agree on this issue. And I could introduce a lot of other commentary about Recreation District 4, as I have been paying pretty close attention to the operations of that district as well. But I'm going to reserve a lot of those comments in the essence of time and go along with his motion to postpone.
Steve, did you want?
yes, Mr. Chairman, I postponed the other, the $700,000 bond, and the people from my district that reside in Recreation District number 4, they did a poll of the homeowners, and they had them call me, to tell me whether or not they were interested in being left in Recreation District 4. And that group, I never had one person said they wanted to stay in it. I had about 75 phone calls. But here's my issue with this, and I think, rather than postpone this appointment is for 6 months. It's going to be, it's going to be over in January, and whoever the new council person is going to be able to, appoint somebody to this board. The board is a wreck the way it is right now. I would tell you it's a wreck. There's 6 people on there. And I've read what Dan Ferrari wrote, and he sent it, by the way, to the IG and to the Ethics Board and the district attorney, and I don't know who all, maybe the people in the parish. I got a copy of it. Jake got a copy of it. What's happening on that board is a disaster, and if something isn't done very quick, I talked to Parish President Pat Brister. I think we need to just abolish the board. If we don't, they're violating about every law that we've got concerning recreation districts, and they just keep doing it. And I'm tired of it. I mean, I'm not gonna, I don't really think that as a council, we should be sponsoring boards like that. So I'm really struggling with the idea, but I told Jake if he could find somebody that he felt comfortable with, because I can't find anybody to serve on that board anymore, everybody I put on resigns as soon as they find out what's going on. So I can't find anybody to serve on it. I told him if he could find somebody that he thought was decent, I would support that, and I'm going to support that. And I've had several people call me about this and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. I believe we've got to get that board straightened out and do something, either replace the whole board or put people on there that are going to start working together. I would hope that this lady could. Now, it may be divisive in the community, I don't know, but it can't be any more divisive than that board is already. Right now, it's split 3-3, right down the middle. They spend money without board approval. They violate state bid contract laws. You name it, they've done it. And I just, I don't want to have any, I hate to say this out in front of everybody, but that's the way it is. And we've been working to try and get that thing straightened up, and it's not getting any better. So I'm going to listen to Jake. If he says this person is a good person, I'm willing to accept that. So,
Chris?
Yes. After hearing all the circumstances of all the accusations, if there is criminal justification going on out there, I don't think we should be appointing anybody, anything on that board. I think we should be freezing it. It should stop today. We need to freeze it. We don't need to appoint people. We need to get the DA or whoever we gotta get in there to start doing what they're paid to do. If they're breaking the law, they need to go to jail. We shouldn't add to the mess by putting another person on there. They just we need to freeze their operations.
Jake?
Chair, I'm going to call for Ms. Rester. After hearing everything going on, do you still wish to be appointed to Recreation District 4? It's your call. Yes, I would. Okay, I stand by my recommendation to appoint her to the board, please.
We got a motion to postpone.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is for Mr. Hand, Mr. Chairman. And my question is not on the subject of whether to appoint Ms. Rester tonight or postpone it, okay? I've heard some, rumblings about the rec district, okay? But now, tonight, we're hearing direct comments, both from members of the public and from council members, certainly from Mr. Stefanczyk. So I guess my question is regardless, forgetting about this appointment for the time being, okay, what legal options do council members Groby and Stefanczyk, who are currently the two council members that appoint to this district, and or the whole council, what legal options do we have, considering that we're hearing the word criminal, writing checks without authorization? I'm not taking sides on this because I don't have enough knowledge, but when I'm hearing these words, I'm sorry, I can't just walk away from it now that we're hearing this in an open public council meeting. So could you comment, Mr. Hand?
I believe that the individuals who are making these in their accusations at this time need to approach the appropriate law enforcement authorities, which would include the sheriff, DA, the ethics board, and I don't know whether the state inspector general will be involved, potentially the legislative auditor's office. I mean, those are the proper authorities to investigate something like this. As far as the responsibilities of the councilman, there's nothing more that you all can do as elected officials. I mean, you do appoint the members to the board, but it is a separate legal entity. It is not controlled by this governing body. It controls itself. According to what Mr. Stefanczyk has said, if they're deadlocked, they're not going anywhere. If it's 3-3 on everything, nothing can be done. But I think that the proper authorities need to be notified by those individuals who are making the accusations in order that a proper investigation can take place.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Hand. Mr. Chairman, one follow-up for Mr. Hand. Terry, so just to be clear, are you saying that basically we as a council, in other words, acting as a whole body, and after what we've heard from council members, okay, that we can't dissolve this board, that we can't take over this rec district in the interim, and I'm not saying we want to. I'm just asking what are the legal options, if any?
Mr. Chairman, could I make a point of order, please? I mean, we're venturing into legal areas that I think we don't know what the future holds. It could potentially be something that is said tonight that's subject to future client attorney privilege. I mean, I really think we need to stop while we're ahead, is all I'm saying.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, I respect the point that Mr. Falconer made, and I just want to say that once the cat was out the bag in terms of what was said already, my only question was, do we have an obligation at that point after hearing that to ask Are there any options? That's the only place I was going. I have no personal
And I
knowledge.
think
Thank you.
he answered that by saying, you know, we really don't. Okay. Any other discussion? The motion is to postpone. Is that for a month indefinitely? What?
Until we go through the process of having District 11 removed from the boundaries of Rec District 4 and wherever the direction of the investigation goes, if there is eventually a determination that there has to be one. So we make a motion to postpone indefinitely.
Any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes, 9 yeas, 4 nays, 1 absent.
All right, the motion is, the appointment is postponed. Resolution number I know, I'm waiting on her. We gotta get her a faster computer. Resolution to appoint Skip Phillips to replace Barton Livingston, resigned on the Board of Commissioners for Recreation District Number 5.
So move.
Discussion?
No.
Please vote.
Mr. Smith?
He's not there. Oh, there he is.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Resolution number 3, to appoint Hutch Gonzalez and Vicky Sturmer to replace Candace Lemons and Carrie Monica, who resigned on the Board of Commissioners for Parish Recreation Number District 6.
Move to postpone.
Mr. Sharp and Mr. Belsario.
I've got a quick question,
Any
Mr. Chairman.
discussion? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm presuming this is the same Hutch Gonzalez that's married to Ashley. I just want to make sure, in the interest of full disclosure, that there's
Yes,
no
it is.
problem with that.
Yes, it is. Any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Number 4, resolution to appoint John Crawford Jr. to replace Brian Frierson, resigning on the Board of Commissioners for Parish Recreation District Number 7.
Move-
Belsario and Thompson, discussion. Please
No more
vote.
than Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
if I may. I think Mr. Crawford has been sitting through this long process all evening.
Who?
And Mr. Crawford, the replacement, John Crawford Jr.
Oh, has,
And we might just want to at least recognize him
I
for
didn't
sitting
know he
through
was
this
here.
whole process tonight
Mr. Crawford,
and thank him for
please
his
stand up. Thank you.
volunteers.
Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
I move we adjourn.
All right, now I'm gonna make announcement. There will be no executive session. We have no business to talk about as far as the James H. Welch, versus the Parish of East Baton Rouge, St. Tammany Parish Government Force versus James H. Welch, Commissioner of Conservation. And St. Tammany Parish Surface and Transportation Board is a resolution that doesn't need to be an executive session, be on the agenda next month. You'll hear motion to adjourn? So move. Please vote.